Good morning and greetings from Northumberland on a very dull and rainy morning. But it's good to have the rain to water the plants, and it's good to have the rain today when yesterday we had a beautiful day for our second of the series of open air services. Yesterday we met here in the garden and there were 35 of us to celebrate the Eucharist. A great time to be together and to worship God and to begin the process of restoration at the end or during this terrible time of pandemic, finding a way forward to worship in a safe way, but above all to be together as God's people. Today in our Anglican calendar, we celebrate an Anglican saint, Brooke Foss Westcott, born in 1825, died in 1901, so really a 19th century saint, and someone who made an incredible contribution to the church in two different ways. Firstly, he followed a fairly sort of normal career for a middle class sort of person. He went to a private school in Birmingham. He then went to Cambridge, became a fellow, was then ordained, was a master at Harrow School, had a family, and began a series of collaborations on different sort of things, basically about biblical studies. And he worked for many years in that capacity, being a canon of Peterborough and of Westminster, being a professor, being a fellow, all the things that you would expect from a scholarly career in the 19th century, and producing many important books. He was also involved in the foundation of the college in Cambridge that now bears his name, Westcott House, because he was very concerned in the training and preparation of those who were being ordained. All very laudable and marvellous, and a great contribution. Then he became Bishop of Durham. In 1890 he was consecrated, I had to check the date, the Bishop of Durham. And Durham had at that time, and did for a long time, a tradition of having scholarly bishops. But Durham was very different to the sort of prince bishopric that had once existed, because the Industrial Revolution had transformed the Diocese of Durham from a green land to a land with much industry and, of course, with a great deal of mining. And Westcott found himself in the middle of a dispute about wages between the miners and the mine owners. And he was so respected that he was able to help to mediate and to find a solution. And he became increasingly, it had always been there, but his experience at Durham made him increasingly concerned with Christianity and the social order. And he worked hard for the well-being of everyone. In 1889, he had become the president of the newly founded Christian Social Union. The idea that Christianity should affect the way in which we live and operate, and question our government, and question the way in which our society runs. And all of that continued when he was Bishop of Durham, but such was his integrity that people on both sides continued to respect him. However, he paid a price for it. The Conservative Prime Minister, Lord Salisbury, branded him a socialist, and when the Queen herself, Queen Victoria, suggested that he might be the next Archbishop of York, Salisbury opposed this, and so Westcott continued in Durham, and he died there as bishop in 1901, a few days after preaching at the Durham Miners' Gala. Here was a man who was both a scholar and a human being who cared for others. He embodies that tradition in Christianity, that we should be committed to those around us. The gospel today talks about the kingdom as being like yeast that makes a difference to the whole dough. That was where Westcott stood. Christians making a difference. And he had a tradition of being prepared to be critical of those in power in order to support those who were weak. And that's something which, as Christians, we need to continue to do ourselves as well. So we give thanks for his life, for his commitment to scholarship, and above all, for his commitment to those who are less well off than himself, following that tradition which we find in the Gospels. May God bless us as we try to live out those principles of learning more about God and of transforming our world by our presence.